Hey, this is your girl Tysheen. How you doing? How you feeling? Yes. Why do we bash Americans? Why do y'all bash Americans? That is the question. So someone wanted me to react to this. Okay, so I'm curious. Let's get straight to it.
Just running, pretending. I'm sitting down while running, it's not a valid form of exercise. Oh, hello. Guess what I've been doing this week? I've been reading Twitter. It's a big mistake. Nobody should ever do that. But while I was reading Twitter, came across this tweet. Take a look at that. Right, and it got me thinking, why do we bash Americans? And I don't mean we as in me and everyone else. And I don't just mean this, politically. There seems to be a tendency toward bashing Americans in general. Now, before I do continue, I should reiterate that, of course, this isn't all British people bashing all Americans all the time, but there is still, nonetheless, this tendency that happens there. And you wouldn't expect a restaurant to write this about other nations or other nationals from around the world, but somehow it's fair game with Americans, and that is something that I've never understood. Of course, now I understand it even less, having lived in America for 11 years and married to an American who would not take kindly to me saying such a thing. So, I just wanted to give some thought as to why we think it is fair game. In order to do so, we have to look historically at the relationship, the now apparently special relationship between Britain and America. And so, I think anti-American sentiment, if you want to call it that, among my British compatriots has existed for centuries. I mean, you could go back to the early colonization of what is now the United States. Even after that, take, for example, Samuel Johnson, the inventor of the original English dictionary in Britain. He was the precursor, I suppose, to Noah Webster in that sense. And, he had quite a strong anti-American sentiment to him. He's the very man, in fact, that said, I am willing to love all mankind except an American. And that's not all he said. I mean, that's not where it stopped. He also said, by his own choice, this was of somebody who would move to the continent of North America, or just the United States in general. By his own choice, he has left a country where he had a vote and little property for another where he has great property but no vote. And in many ways, that's sort of in line with King George III's idea that as a political entity, America had no hope, that it would go nowhere. And of course, then it did. It became independent from the British. You could almost argue that may have led to resentment, at least at that very time. I think if you were to...
Everybody who's been to America and been through something here in America, of course they're going to hate America. But for people who never been here, never came here before, and they saying bad things about Americans and America, doesn't make any type of sense to me at all. Like me, I can't judge another country because I never been there. I could watch movies, TV shows, videos about another country, but I haven't physically been there. So I can't judge another country and be bashing another country so much. I never understood why people do that. I know some people, I've read comments, people saying I shouldn't talk bad about America because I live here and I'm American and stuff like that. But I'm like, I could say certain things because I live here. I live here. So I could say certain things. It doesn't mean I hate my country. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, I experience good and bad things. So yeah. But there are some things that we could improve a little bit here in America. Okay? But that doesn't mean that I hate America. Like, no, I don't.
To talk to British people today, they may not even cite 1776 as a reason for their resentment against Americans, should they have that resentment. And that's quite an interesting point, right? So I'm not sure that all prejudice toward Americans today is even tied to history. In fact, to its detriment, it often ignores it. In the case of language, actually, quite often, as I've pointed out before, we ignore sort of the historical patterns behind language and how Americanisms came about from Britishisms. I've talked before about the the word soccer having been coined actually in England, if you want to talk about lexicon. The same is true of certain spellings of words. Let's look at aluminum. We say and write aluminium back in the UK, and you say aluminum here. Well, aluminum was previously in use in the UK and was debated back and forth between members of the science circle there as to which one we should go with. And then similarly, when we're talking about pronunciation, a lot of American...
We need to stop doing that too. You know, talk about, oh no, this is how you pronounce this word. No, this is how you pronounce this word. This is how you spell this word. At the end of the day, you understand what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. Tomato, tomato. Same thing.
have a tendency to drop the H on herb, whereas the British tend to keep it, but that was not always the case. We started out by dropping the H on herb because of the French tendency to do so, just as we do with the words honour and hour and things of that ilk. But we stopped doing that.
Oh, I noticed that I spell honor different. I think you add a U in that word.
Just because it was becoming quite a class issue. If you were doing that in the UK, you were seen as unintelligent at one point. That memo never got spread over here in the United States, so they dropped it. And we ignore that fact when we criticise Americans from a linguistic point of view. And that's not where it ends. You could talk about sort of American stereotypes that have emerged. Americans are loud. We've talked about this before, but of course that is quite specific to certain things. And, you know, just as it would be in reverse if we were to sort of stereotype my fellow countrymen for having bad teeth because of the depiction in Austin Powers, for example, not necessarily true of all British people. We do...
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's watching TV shows, movies, and they automatically thinking that everybody is like that. You know, like, I've heard stories about people in England and other countries of, you know, negative things, but I was never the type to... Well, I shouldn't say that. When I was younger, I believed those stuff because, you know, it was told to us, you know, and we watch movies and stuff, so we believe that that's how people are in those other countries. But then when you get older, you start doing your own research and you start talking to people and you start learning more from people around the world, and you realize, okay, those things weren't true, okay? Same thing with Americans. Not all Americans are the same, okay? I hate that all Americans, okay? And I always got to correct people and say some, not all, okay? Because you have to remember, most majority of people that's in America are not from America, okay? America is a melted pot. Everybody around the world live here in America, especially here in New York. I was born and raised in New York. I was surrounded by different people from different around the world: Russia, England, Sweden, people from Barbados, Jamaica, Haiti. The list goes on and on and on and on. People who I'm surrounded with, they all from different countries, and they all live here in Brooklyn. Okay, so yeah. And that's what they have learned, that they all are not the same. I always told that Russian people are mean and stuck up and they're this and that. They don't want to talk to people. But the ones I've met, they're very friendly. When they see me, they be like, hey, hey, Tysheen, how you doing? Hi, you're so nice. I like you. You know, they friendly, you know, so, and they always make me laugh. So, yeah. Sorry for rambling. I have so much to say.
Guide a lot of our things based on stereotypes. I'm talking now, of course, about the present day, having talked about the 18th century. But in between that, the relationship between the United States, or at least the political relationship between the United States and Great Britain, has changed, and specifically in and around World War II, when we sort of forged the aforementioned special relationship. You could still find quotes such as this, which was actually not by Winston Churchill. It's often said that Winston Churchill said it. He did not. There's no evidence for it. But the quote came out of somewhere. Somebody invented it. And so I think it's kind of a never-ending thing. But the big question is, why? Why do we bash Americans? We don't do this to people from other predominantly English-speaking countries like Australia or Canada. So we have to look at a couple of things.
That's kind of true. I mean, I never hear anybody over here in America bashing other countries, so I never understood why people bash here. I mean, like I said, I did so many videos about America, about the gun problems and stuff like that, but those are just problems that we could try to work with. But like I said, America is a melting pot, so yeah, it's not that bad. It has its, you know, there's some things I'm not too fond of, but Overall, it's not that bad.
Firstly, America is a big dog in the world. It's the biggest dog, perhaps, in the world. Has been since World War II. We're very familiar with that idea. So in the present day, if we're ignoring history, as some are wont to do, are we simply looking at how America is a big dog and applying envy to that? Let's not forget, Britain also thinks of itself as sort of the greatest country in the world. It just uses different terminology. You know, it's very proud of what it's achieved, and rightfully so. I mean, we gave a lot to the world of music. We've given a lot to the world of technology, to the world of sport, etc., etc. And so when another country comes along and does all these things sort of bigger and grander and is itself extremely proud of its efforts, perhaps we look at that with a tinge of envy. I'd be lying if I said we didn't. And at the same time, there is respect. I think there is respect back in England for the United States. It's a weird sort of back and forth, a Jekyll and Hyde personality that we have toward America. But some other things, you know, through television and through media, we are granted, or rather given, an idea of what Americans are like. So
I mentioned that. It's the TV and all this other stuff. You know, people think that everybody's that type of, you know, we act the same. So, yeah.
We'll more than occasionally see news stories like this one. So when we see news reports like this, which I should say are very isolated but nonetheless very eye-catching and loud news reports, we have this tendency to assume, I think, through the frequency of it, that all Americans are like this, when in fact, through my own experience, I've found it to be not the case at all. You know, I think most Americans I interact with, while just like everyone else in the world may have their own neuroses that are unique to themselves and things of that nature, mostly aren't committing very bizarre crimes in Florida. I think that, you know, partly when we want to talk about British attitudes toward America, you have to remember that Britain just likes to moan. I mean, we do. We're a nation of moaners. I'm not a nation, but I am a moaner by nature because of, I think, my upbringing. But I tend to reserve that for things like the weather or the food that
I personally, as an American, I don't think I want to live in a country where most of the majority of people are just miserable and complains a lot. I can't be in that type of environment. I'm sorry. I like to be somewhere where people are happy, very nice to each other, and, you know, stuff like that. But be in a country where people are just so miserable, it could be a little depressing, though.
I'm about to eat tonight, it's not usually about a group of people from a nation, because let's remember that America is such a diverse nation that how could you really pigeonhole everybody into the same
Oh my God, he's saying the same thing I just said. Basically, he's saying it better than me. But yeah, it's a very diverse country. So everybody's not going to be the same. There are people here from Sweden. There are people here from Finland. There's people here from Denmark. There are people from England. There are people, like I said, I could go on and on and on a list of people from all over the world that lives here. Because America, you know, we want everybody to come here. And, you know, we don't mind, you know. But it's just crazy how people think that all American people are the same, and we're really not. We're all not the same. And I mentioned this so many times. We all are not the same. Okay, we're not.
Category, it can't be done. To that extent, it is impossible, I think, to bash Americans. You could bash a particular American for something terrible that he or she did, but to do it to a whole nation of people is very short-sighted in my view. But don't feel too bad about that, America, because we don't just reserve it for you. We do something very similar to the French, and for similar reasons as well, both linguistically based and also imperially based, historically speaking. So, you know, when I see a tweet like that I showed here at the beginning of the video, I almost wish I could encapsulate all of these thoughts into one video and reply to that tweet with said video. And now I can. I win. And so that is why we, /they/the British, don't slash the British, it's not the Revolutionary War. That's why the British bash Americans. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching.
We need to stop doing that and start loving one another, okay? It's pretty much what he's saying, stuff I mentioned already, that we all are not the same. I remember growing up, I used to hear people, when people talk to me, they'd be like, oh, all y'all Americans, all y'all Yankee people, ugh. y'all this, y'all that. And they would always say negative things to me. And I'm like, I'm my own person. I'm not like everybody else. Like, why you... Like, get to know me. Okay, get to know me. I'm not like everybody else. Everybody's not the same. Jeez Louise. It's okay to come to this country and you've been through some harsh experience being here and you feel some type of way, then I get it. But if you haven't been here, there's no reason to be bashing America so much. Okay, it's no reason. I get it. We have gun problems. Where some of us could be too loud, some of us could be too mean, and this and that. But like I said, we all are not the same. Okay, there's a lot of people here who are fighting the gun control, and we're fighting for a better health insurance. A lot of people here are fighting for that. So, and other things too. We're all fighting for it here. Yes, there are people there that's here are fighting for it. Okay, so can't bash all American people. But like he said, we could go on and talk about this, but yeah, I don't want the video to be too long. Because we could talk about this all day. But I'm glad he posted this. But when did he post this? Is it recent? Oh no, he posted, I think, 3 years ago. Oh, it's not a recent video. It's not a recent video. He posted. Oh, yeah, 2019. He posted this. I thought it was recent. But anyway, what's the next video? What is the next video? Comment below, let your girl know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you lovely people. Take care of yourself. Bye and peace.